Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. As the media and the Democratic Party have their meltdown and panic and feign ignorance at President Biden's debate debacle, we didn't know. We've never seen him like that. I think a truly unreported, unexamined element of this is the media's cover up of Biden's true cognitive decline. And obviously, the media is not going to now cover their cover up. So it's going to take independent media showing you that the media has been hiding this knowingly all along. I want to give two examples here. One is from of Watergate fame in recent years, more of a gas bag, in my opinion. Carl Bernstein was on Anderson Cooper last night and shared reporting that apparently there's been 15 to 20 instances over the last year of similar Biden cognitive hardware melting down in the last year. Let's take a look.
Carl, according to the people you've been talking to, what are you hearing?
Well, these are people, several of them, who are very close to President Biden, who love him, have supported him, have been among them are some people who have raised a lot of money for him. And they are adamant that what we saw the other night, the Joe Biden we saw, is not a one-off, that there have been 15, 20 occasions in the last year and a half when the president has appeared somewhat as he did in that horror show that we witnessed. And what's so significant is the people that this is coming from, and also how many people around the president are aware of such incidents, including some reporters, incidentally, who have witnessed some of them. But here we see tonight, as these people say, President Biden at his absolute best. And yet these people who have supported him, loved him, campaigned for him, see him often, say that in the last 6 months particularly, there has been a marked incidence of cognitive decline and physical infirmity.
What I wonder about is the people who were, working with him at Camp David, allegedly in this intensive debate prep, if there were concerns there about this, and I don't know if you have got any word about that, but how anybody involved in that debate prep, didn't anybody see something was amiss?
The debate prep was supervised by Ron Klain, who has been with President Biden for many years. And people I've talked to have all been to Ron Klain in the last year to say, we have a problem. We have a problem such as we saw the other night, that there have been numerous instances where the president has lost his train of thought, can't pick it up again. There was a fundraiser at which he started at the podium, and then he became very stiff, according to people there, as if it were almost a kind of rigor mortis.
This was reported allegedly in June of 2020.
This was June this was a year ago, almost exactly, at the old Four Seasons restaurant on Park Avenue. And he became very stiff, and a chair had to be brought for him to do the latter part of the event. I think that what these folks are saying and have been saying for a while is, yes, he's great when we see him.
Well, why I call this a media cover-up, and I have a little experience covering cover-ups. My book on the Flint water cover-up will be out in a month. Pre-order now. We the Poisoned, exposing the Flint water cover-up. And the media, as will be revealed in the upcoming book, was a huge part in the cover-up of the Flint water poisoning and the ongoing cover-up. Stay tuned for that. But does anyone with a brain think Carl Bernstein of Watergate fame just suddenly discovered this information now after Biden malfunctioned in front of over 50 million Americans? You think he didn't have this information, didn't do this reporting a long time ago? These are wired people. People like Bernstein are on the phone constantly. I've seen them at cocktail parties the few times I've been in D.C. in my life. This was years ago when I was at the Young Turks. They're always talking to the other journalists, Democratic Party, Republican Party bigwigs, donors. You don't think that he had this information well over a year ago and just now is sharing it? Isn't it your job as a journalist I know he's not like a day-to-day journalist now, but if Biden, quote, was freezing, like in his words, like rigor mortis over a year ago, shouldn't that have been reported, considering Biden well over a year ago was still the president when we have a standoff with a nuclear power like Russia over Ukraine and many other geopolitical threats, not to mention Biden well over a year ago. We're talking about the economy still being in shambles. Inflation was still very high. It still is high now. He's just sharing now that Biden was losing his train of thought, couldn't get it back. And I quote, he said, including reporters who have seen some of this. Well, if other reporters have seen some of this, where was their report on this? I can tell you, and I said this yesterday in my video, go check that out on the media cover up. In 2020, when I was on the campaign trail, I heard mainstream media journalists hanging out at the bar drinking, debating what Biden had, whether it was Alzheimer's or dementia, early onset for both. They were openly discussing this. Bernstein is saying not only that he has sources about 15 to 20 instances of Biden having similar cognitive freezes where he can't, loses his train of thought, can't pick it back up, stiff, like rigor mortis over the last year. But he's saying that other reporters have seen it too. Silence of the lambs from these reporters. But it's not just Bernstein. You know, Jake Tapper, I like to call him Jake Tupperware. He is being praised for going tough on Biden's BFF, Senator Chris Coons, who replaced Biden as a senator from Delaware. Tapper is getting widely praised for this exchange. I don't think he deserves praise for this exchange. Let's take a look. Biden in his grilling of Senator Chris Coons.
With all due respect, it is not honest to say that this is just one night. There have been moments like this that people have seen in front of the cameras and other moments but with cameras not there. Just 2 weeks ago, let me just show this clip. There was another moment like this, not just a senior losing a train of thought, but something else going on. Here he is. It was an event about immigration. He tries to introduce DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and there's some sort of glitch. I don't know what it is. Let's roll that tape.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you all the way. But all kidding aside, Secretary Mayorkas.
I don't know what that was.
That doesn't trouble me at all, Jake.
Interesting. So Jake Tapper is saying there's been moments like this that others have seen. Who are those others? On camera and in private. Well, isn't the job of Jake Tapper and CNN to report on both public instances where the president of the United States, finger on the nuclear button, is cognitively falling apart, is not cognitively functioning? Or if they know of private examples, which he's insinuating they do know of private examples, where the president is cognitively declining or sundowning. Again, there's no shame in it. This happens with age. Even if you don't have Alzheimer's or dementia, you can suffer from memory loss or losing your train of thought or, not being able to get your train of thought back. But seems to me, Jake Tapper and CNN, same with MSNBC, this is not something they're just finding out now, as he's insinuating. This is something he's saying there's been public instances that CNN never showed you and never reported on. He's saying there's private instances that CNN never reported on. But now we're supposed to praise the media for suddenly having a come to Jesus moment. And this isn't just about Joe Biden. This would be about any president. This would also be about senators and congressmen or mayors. If you as a journalist have information that, through no fault of these public servants. They're cognitively not there. It is your job to inform the public about that, because the public is banking on being represented by these people at this level in terms of war and peace, even though we are, a military industrial complex war machine. They are banking on Joe Biden having the cognitive wherewithal to deal with inflation, to deal with, Israel, Gaza, even though he's been aiding that, to deal with so many things. Well, they clearly had all this information that he could not do that. And they hid it from you while running ads that wear the most powerful name in news, or Washington Post. Democracy dies in the darkness. It does die in the darkness, and they've been keeping it there. From Carl Bernstein to Jake Tapper to Morning Joe, this was an open secret among the corporate media industrial complex that Biden was falling apart, and they covered for him. That is why corporate media should die a quick death, and independent media is where it's at. I was on this years ago. When I was covering the 2020 election, I showed you example after example when it happened of Biden forgetting where he was, forgetting Obama's name, calling himself an Biden-Obama Democrat, wrongly saying he was running for Senate when he was running for president. The media hid all that from you. Shame.